Okay.
Really nice meeting you, right? Yeah. Awesome.
Welcome. Thanks everybody for coming tonight. I guess I'll just keep it farther away since it seems very loud. We're going to go ahead and get started with our Old Columbia Pike Prosperity Drive Improvement Project public meeting. To get started, this is a combination in person. So thanks everybody for coming out tonight, but also virtual. So we're calling this a hybrid public meeting. So I'm going to give some instructions to the people that are virtual on how to participate. So I'll just go over these, how to use the Zoom to participate in the meeting. First of all, to everybody, please note that this meeting is being recorded. So the video will be posted on the project website after the meeting. If you do not wish to have your voice or likeness recorded, please keep your camera off and refrain from asking questions using the audio option. Instead, you can send your questions via the chat option. So using Zoom, to start, everyone is on mute. You cannot unmute yourself. When we can unmute you during the meeting by phone, and you can unmute yourself by dialing *6 once we unmute you. For the video, your camera is off by default. To ensure adequate bandwidth for this meeting, we request that you please keep your camera off during the meeting. To ask a question following tonight's presentation, there will be a question and answer session if time allows. Please wait until the presentation ends to raise your hand to provide comments or ask a question. Alternatively, you may type your question into the chat box through tonight's presentation. Please direct all chat messages to our Zoom host, Lori Main, who is also virtual. Thank you, Lori. To raise your hand, click reactions icon at the bottom of your screen, then click the raise hand button. If you called by phone, press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute yourself. To change your view so that you can only see people with cameras on, click the up arrow next to the start video, select video settings, make sure hide non-video participants is checked, as shown on the diagram. Okay. Again, thanks everybody for coming in person and online. This is the public meeting for the facility planning for our Old Columbia Pike Prosperity Drive Improvements Project. My name is Dan Sheridan. I work with Montgomery County Department of Transportation. We are in the Division of Transportation Engineering. And my colleague, Yasmin Smiley, is the MCDOT project manager for this project. And we also have some consultants here who are helping with the project. Mark Roberts and Chang T are both from WRA, and there are a couple other WRA people floating about the room if you have questions and you want to ask them. So with that, I think I'm going to pass it off to Yasi to continue the presentation. Oh, I wanted to say, I'm not sure if they're well out. I just also wanted to recognize Drew Bande is here from the county. He works for the county executive. He's the Eastern Regional Service Center Director. So thank you, Drew, for coming tonight. And I don't know if there are any other elected officials. Councilmember Mink is represented. Thank you. So with that, I will. Oh, I'm going to do this one too. Okay. So I'll let you know where we are in our general process. Again, we're in facility planning. This is the very beginning of the project where we're trying to collect data, look at options, and get public input on the various options that you're going to see presented around on the walls and then online in the presentation as well. So, and then the ultimate objective out of this would be to come up with a an approval, an option approval from the T&E committee, which is the Transportation and Environment Committee of the County Council, and from our director of MCDOT. And so beyond this facility planning, this project is not funded for final design or construction at this point. That would be another goal coming out of the facility planning, would be to figure out the cost to do the final design and construction.
Good evening. We are starting the project tonight meeting with the project outline. We will present the following outline tonight: project limit, project overview, purpose and need, and conceptual design for the following 4 alternatives. Alternative 1, no build, no improvement to Old Columbia Pike and Prosperity Drive. Alternative 2, improving intersection within the limit of the project, as well as adding new sidewalk and side path along the road. Alternative 3, improving intersection safety and operation, adding sidewalk and side path, and opening the existing bridge to traffic. Alternative 4 is alternative 3, plus widening Old Columbia Pike and Prosperity Drive to 4 lanes and replacing the existing bridge. Next, we will discuss intersection improvement alternative at Old Columbia Pike with Industrial Parkway and Tech Road. Then we will go over the project schedule. And lastly, we will finish with the question and answer session. Next slide, please. This slide shows the Old Columbia Pike looking north toward to the existing bridge. The left side of the picture shows the White Oak apartment building, and on the right side, the townhouse community. As you can see, there is no sidewalk or side path along the road. It's just a narrow shoulder. Next slide, please. This slide shows the location of the project with respect to the major road and highways. The highlighted in the yellow shows Old Columbia Pike and Prosperity Drive. The southern limit of the project starts from the intersection of the Stewart Lane and Old Columbia Pike. And the northern limit of the project intersects with Cherry Hill Drive. The highlighted in the red is the existing arch bridge over the Paint Branch. We will discuss more about the bridge later in the presentation. Old Columbia Pike and Prosperity Drive is approximately about 1.82 mile long. The road from Stewart Lane to Tech Road calls Old Columbia Pike, and from Tech Road to Cherry Hill Road, it calls Prosperity Drive. There are 4 major intersections within limit of the project. Beginning at the southern limit of the project and traveling north, these intersections are Stewart Lane, Industrial Parkway, Tech Road, and Cherry Hill Road. The project is being closely coordinated with SHA Court Intersection Improvement Project, which is US 29 and Stewart Lane. And it has been included in the 2023 Fairland and Briggs Cheney Master Plan and the 2014 White Oak Science Gateway Master Plan. Our concept plans are following recommendation in the master plans. Next slide, please. The purpose of the project is as follows. We are focused on the connectivity and safety needs along Old Columbia Pike and Prosperity Drive. Improve the existing traffic pattern, operation, and geometry deficiencies. Install sidewalk and side path along the Old Columbia Pike and Prosperity Drive. Improve drainage issues within the limit of the project, enhance safety for pedestrian and bicyclists in keeping with Montgomery County Vision Zero Action Plan. The goal of Vision Zero Action Plan is to end serious injury and death on our roadways. Encourage equity and accessibility by providing continuous pedestrian facility to promote a safe environment for pedestrian and bicyclists. This project will benefit the underserved communities. Bridge over Paint Branch. The bridge is approximately 200 feet long and 27 feet wide, and it was built in 1912 and widened in 1930, and in 1973 was rehabilitated. This bridge has been registered with the Maryland Historical Trust, and it is eligible for listing in the National Register of Historic Places. Currently, it is closed to vehicle traffic, but is open to the pedestrian and bicyclist. I'm turning it over to Mike.
Good evening. On the next couple slides, I'm going to be walking through some of the existing conditions, some of which are good and some of which we will be looking to improve. On the first photo, you can see, as we all know, some traffic backups that occur on Tech Road and Industrial Parkway. So part of what we'll, not the total focus of this job, but part of what we'll be looking at is to improve traffic operations at these intersections. Some other issues are ADA or sidewalk ramps that are not ADA compliant. The second photo actually shows a pretty good example of one that is compliant, but there are other ones throughout the corridor that need help. There's also some, we'll call it unsafe or unorganized parking that occurs especially south of Paint Branch Bridge. And so we'll be looking to improve those issues. Here's some photos just walking through the corridor, the bridge over Paint Branch that's open to pedestrians and bicyclists. Then up towards Industrial, Tech, and then up towards Cherry Hill Road. And then some of the pedestrian and bicyclist improvements that we'll be looking to make under all of our alternatives include adding 6 foot wide concrete sidewalks, 5 to 6 foot wide grass buffer. Grass buffer is just the area from the curb out to the sidewalk or side path. We'd also be looking to add a side path on the other side of the street, and we'll get to that when we get into the alternatives. And that would always be a 10 foot wide side path with a 5 to 6 foot wide grass buffer. And then that side path will provide space for not only pedestrians, but also bicyclists or personal electric vehicles, such as scooters. And on all the alternatives, there would be pedestrian and bicyclist improvements all the way from Stewart to Cherry Hill. And then at the intersections, we'd be looking to provide ADA compliant crosswalks and geometric improvements, as we talked about. Next slide. Some of the ways we'll be looking to make this project safer for pedestrians include protected intersection design. In the upper left corner is an example of physical separation of vehicles and pedestrians, clear signage, clear pavement markings, and even push buttons that for pedestrians as signals. Also pedestrian refuge islands to make the crossing shorter and make visibility better for motorists and pedestrians alike. And also we'll be looking at potentially using traffic calming devices such as raised crosswalks, speed tables, curb extensions, and lane narrowing as we move forward into planning. Next slide. Our design is also guided by primarily the Montgomery County Complete Streets Guide. This is a guideline that's come out in the past few years that is really focused on pedestrians and bicyclists, but also keeping the needs of all users, including motorists and all users. There are 3 street types that come out of that manual that apply to this corridor. That includes the neighborhood connector, Town Center Street, and Town Center Boulevard. And on the next few slides, we'll go over each of those type. The first one, the neighborhood connector, that applies from Stewart Lane up to Industrial Parkway. It has a 25-mile-an-hour target speed. I'll define target speed as the desired speed that we create the design for. That's the desired speed we would like vehicles to be traveling based on our design. It would have 10 to 10.5 foot wide lanes, a 6-foot sidewalk on one side of the road, and a 10-foot side path on the other side of the road. Neighborhood connectors are typically in residential areas, and they are good for all users, including pedestrians and bicyclists, but they can also even support transit. Next slide shows the Town Center Street type that runs on this corridor from Industrial Parkway to Cherry Hill Road. It also has a 25-mile-an-hour target speed with 10 to 11 foot lanes. And then the sidewalk goes up to 10 feet and the side path remains 10 feet. Town Center Streets are usually, they can be in residential, but also into more commercial areas. And they can also have on-street parking and more significant pedestrian and bicycle activity. The next slide shows the last of our street types, Town Center Boulevard. Now, this is for multi-lane, and this only would apply if we're going to, in the later slides, we're going to get into the different alternatives that are you can also see in the back today or online. And alternative 4 is the only alternative we have with multiple lanes. If that alternative were picked, this street type would apply all the way from Stewart Lane to Cherry Hill Road. The target speed goes to 30 miles per hour, 10 to 11 foot lanes, 10-foot sidewalk, and 10-foot side path. And so that is our 3 street types. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Cheng.
Thank you, Mark. Full disclosure, I'm an engineer. I'm not a motivational. I'll try to keep you engaged and hopefully don't put you to sleep as I go over the next 30 slides. There's a lot of information that I'll cover. But, there's still going to be a question and answer at the end of the session, and people online can post their question through the chat to Lori. So please don't forget that you have to remember everything that I say. Don't be quick at the end. The first alternative is no build, self-explanatory. There's not going to be, this is going to stay status quo, and the bridge will be close to vehicle traffic, but open only to pedestrian and bicyclists. And then alternative 2, we're going to improve intersections within the project corridor, add sidewalk and side path. Pike and Prosperity Drive will remain a 1 lane in each direction. Improve intersections, install pedestrian and bicyclist improvements, install lighting where it's wanted. Bridge will remain closed to vehicle traffic and open to pedestrian and bicyclists only. Now, for the next couple of slides, we're going to walk through the project corridor. We're going to start from the south, starting at Stewart Lane, and then we'll progress moving north. So US 29 is a state-owned, SHA-owned and maintained highway. Oak Pike is a county-owned roadway. So SHA currently has a project in design that improves pedestrian crossing at US 29 and Stewart Lane, and also at the Oak Pike intersection. We're going to relocate the existing connector a couple hundred feet to the north. Because there's a storage and queuing issue there that they're trying to resolve, but they are designing the improvements based on Montgomery County's complete street design guide, and install a side path on the east side with buffer, and then parking with curb extensions to improve pedestrian safety. As the typical section is 10 and a half feet lanes, and there's 8-foot parking lane, and then a 5 to 6 foot buffer, and then a 10-foot wide side path. There won't be any sidewalk on the on the west side in this segment because of the close proximity to US 29. Next. As we progress north, when Oakland Pike moves away from US 29, that's when we add a 6-foot wide sidewalk on the west side with a 6-foot wide buffer. And then we continue the same intersection on the east side and moving towards the bridge. Vehicle traffic will have to turn right at the Carriage House Drive as they do today. And pedestrian and bicyclists can continue north using existing asphalt surface to go cross the bridge. Next slide. In this asphalt, we'll add solid white pavement marking to to differentiate the sidewalk and the side path with buffer in between. And then lighting will be added in this segment because it gets pretty dark there at night. And then when it joins up with the Oakland Pike on the north end of the bridge, the sidewalk will consolidate with the side path because we won't have any sidewalk on the west side because of close proximity with US 29, but the side path will continue north from there. This is a rendering of what it may look like standing south of the bridge looking north. You can see the existing bridge with lighting on the side and pedestrian railings and solid white markings on the ground. Continuing moving north, US 29 is on the top of the screen. North is pointing to the right. Or you progress north towards Stonehenge Park. There is an existing park improvement project. They want to replace some equipment, but our proposed improvement has no conflict with what they're trying to do there. The existing side path there will remain in place. Next. As we approach Industrial Parkway, the Progressive Insurance Office is on the southeast corner where the hand is, and then the White Oak Town Center is under construction right now. Then you have a tech road, and then there's industrial business and the public storage. So that is pointing to the right. Top of the screen is US 29. I'll go into more detail about the intersection improvements there, tech road and industrial in the later slides. Moving north from Industrial Parkway, Oakland Pike / Prosperity Drive will be designed according to Town Center Street as described as Mark described in earlier slides. Next. As we come towards Cherry Hill Road, there's a data center on the east side where the high-end points, and then medical offices, car dealership, and then the hotel. Here, parking will be made available on the east side as safe to the extent that it's safe, and then there'll be a 10-foot wide sidewalk on the west side, and then 10-foot wide side path on the east side with buffer 5 to 6 foot wide buffers. In alternative 3, everything outside of the bridge will be the same as what I've described in alternative 2, except the bridge will be open to 2 lanes of traffic with pedestrian and bicyclist accommodations. Next. So as you can see, this is a typical section of the bridge. It'll be like a 54 feet wide bridge with 2 lanes of traffic allowed across the bridge. And then the roadway will be improved from the first entrance south of the bridge to the first entrance north of the bridge to allow for vehicle traffic and side path and sidewalk. Next. This is a rendering of what it looks like south of the bridge. Looking north, you can see it's a much wider bridge than the existing condition. There'll be cars driving across, and there's like pedestrian and bicycle facilities. Next. In alternative 4, there'll be 4 lanes of traffic, and the bridge will be replaced to allow 4 lanes of traffic. And this was one of the recommendations mentioned in the White Oak Science Gateway Master Plan, published back in 2014, to make Oakland Pike a 4-lane arterial roadway. However, in the same master plan, they did say that to prioritize multimodal connectivity and safety first is a higher priority that we are trying to accomplish with this project. Generally, a four-lane roadway will have a capacity of 20,000 to 30,000 vehicles per day, and two-lane roadway has a capacity of approximately like 15,000 vehicles per day. But our traffic model shows only, even in the design year, there's only 4,000 vehicles per day along Oklahoma Pike, which two lanes is more than you have to handle. Next. In order for here, we'll tie into the SHA project, and then moving north, it'll be a four-lane, a very wide, deeper section. There'll be two lanes in each way. It'll be a center median / turn lane, and then there'll be a 8-foot wide sidewalk on one side, and then 10-foot wide sidewalk on the other side with buffers. And then, as you can see, there'll be a significant impact on along the townhouse community on the east side. Next, the bridge will be replaced with a significantly wider bridge to accommodate the wider section. And there'll be significant environmental impact in this area because there's a Paint Creek, and also there's a lot of forested area in this segment. Next. The same thing, big section push along. It'll be a town center boulevard, as Mark described earlier. And as we approach Industrial Parkway, the sidewalk on the west side will be terminated because it's getting too close to US land. If we ever go to the following option, the intersections at Industrial and Tech Road would need to allow through traffic. However, that creates a signal phasing problem that will not work with US 29 intersection. The two intersections are too close to each other, and if the problems at Industrial, we cannot effectively resolve the existing traffic problem at Industrial and Tech Road without resolving the traffic problem at US 29 at those two intersections. And US 29 is a state-owned highway, so and it is outside of this project scope. Next. The same intersection goes on to the Cherry Hill Road, and significant rival impacts will happen. We'll have to take parking away from medical offices and the car dealership. Next. Now we'll proceed to focus on the two intersections at Industrial and Tech Road. I'll first talk about the existing conditions there today. The westbound traffic queue approaching US 29 during rush hour gets long, and some of the drivers get impatient and they ignore the do not stop here on red sign, and just proceed and block the intersection. As you can see in this picture, they just the car just ignores the do not enter sign and just drives through. They just do whatever the drivers want to do there. They will make unsafe U-turns once they clear the median islands. Next. And then obviously this intersection lacks any ADA compliant pedestrian crossings. And there's a lot of available pavement area there today, but there isn't clear pavement marking to tell people where to go. And that creates a problem. Next. These are some of the features that we propose in intersection alternative A at Industrial Parkway. That I'll get more in detail on the next slide. So in this alternative, traffic pattern remains almost the same. We will do not block intersection pavement markings at shown location there at the palm of the hand, and we will provide clearer crosswalk markings for better visibility. We will add channelizing islands to better direct traffic to where they go, and to provide a pedestrian refuge island to improve pedestrian crossing. And then we'll add truck apron to calm traffic when we make personal vehicles, when they make a turn, they will slow down and watch for pedestrian crossing. Next. Intersection alternative B or Industrial Parkway is an incremental step up from alternative A. where we will relocate the existing signal from US 29 to east of Pike. So vehicles will stop right there where the hand is. For the westbound vehicles, they will stop there when the signal hits for the westbound traffic is red. And when it turns green, the traffic will just proceed and move on to US 29. That way, the pedestrian crossing across the industrial parkway can be signalized, and the pedestrian crossing across Pike can be signalized as well, and it will significantly improve pedestrian crossing. Now moving on to Tech Road. As some of you who frequent the area may be aware that westbound traffic gets backed up and it blocks the entrances to the businesses like the Chick-fil-A restaurants in business area down there, as you can see in the picture. And then again, drivers get impatient because the queue gets long and they just ignore the stop here on red sign. Next. There's a flexi yellow post in the middle right now. Oftentimes when eastbound traffic, when it clears the flexi post, they will make a U-turn to cut queue. Again, this intersection lacks ADA pedestrian crossing, and there's a lot of pavement area, but lacks clear pavement marking to tell traffic where to go. Next. In intersection C at Tech Road, I'll go through some of these proposed improvements on the next slide. Similar with the intersection alternative A at Industrial Parkway, traffic pattern remains the scope, but we will add do not block intersection markings and signage, high visibility crosswalk markings, and then add a median along Prosperity Drive to provide a pedestrian refuge island. Next slide. In intersection alternative D at Tech Road is a step up from intersection alternative C, where similarly comparing to the with industrial parkways alternative B, we relocate the signal head from US 29 to east of Prosperity Drive, so vehicles will stop there. That will help provide a signalized pedestrian crossing, so vehicles will stop where the hand is right now for westbound traffic. When the signal head is red, they'll stop there, and then when it's green, just proceed to US 29. That will help resolve the blocking intersection problem. Next. In intersection alternative E, it's a significant change from the existing condition, but there's also a bigger potential to help resolve some of the traffic capacity issue at Tech Road. To improve the capacity at Tech Road, we'll have to remove some of the traffic, and to do that, we'll add an on-ramp from Prosperity Drive to US 29 northbound. So vehicle westbound traffic, the signal head will also still like similar to alternative D, where the signal head will be located where the hand is, and they'll stop there. But vehicles who want to go to northbound 29 will have to turn right, head on Prosperity Drive, and stop there. It's a stop from the section and then proceed on the on-ramp to US 29 northbound. Next, look at summary of the alternatives. The main thing I want to cover is the cost. Alternative 2 is estimated at 25 million. This includes right-of-way and construction costs. And alternative 3 is 30 million, or 40 million, sorry. And alternative 4 is 60 million. And you can see the forest impact, vehicles, forest impact and right-of-way impacts. Next, I will pass it to Yasmin and to talk about project schedule.
The story in this slide indicates where we are with respect to the project schedule. The project started in January 2022. Concept plan were developed by April of 2022. The first public meeting was presented in March 2023. And tonight we have been presenting the second public meeting. The project will be completed by the winter of 2023. In the winter of 2023, we begin the transportation environmental review, and then the project will be presented to our director and the county council TNT committee to obtain approval. The second phase of the project, which is the preliminary design, will start after receiving the approval. Next slide, please. This is the end of our presentation. Please feel free to contact me if you have any question or any comments. My phone number and email address are showing here, and also our website project shows, the address shows, the link shows, and you can review our website. You can go to our website and review our plans. And now we're starting with the questions. If anyone has questions, please go ahead. And
Good afternoon. Well, good evening.
yes.
Can you wait a second?
Yes.
Pass the microphone around.
Okay.
Because we want people at home to be able to hear, so that's the main thing. Not that we can't hear you here, but we want them to be able to hear at home the questions. So thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you to Montgomery County DOT staff and the consultants for extending their working day to come out and present for this project. Very much appreciated. My name is Michael Jackson, and I'm a resident and live right off of Old Columbia Pike. I'm also a bicyclist and a pedestrian. I wanted to make 2 points and raise 2 questions. The first is language. Bicyclists are legally considered as vehicle operators, and bicycles are vehicles under Maryland law. So when you refer to traffic, pedestrians and bicyclists are also traffic, not just motor vehicles. And if you're referring to vehicles, but just mean motor vehicles, it would be appreciated if you say motor vehicles. Okay. If referring to bicyclists, pedestrians, and motor vehicle operators, then they're all traffic.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, so that was the first one. The second comment would be, and there's probably other people in the audience that feel the same way, no to alternatives 3 and 4 with opening up the bridge to motor vehicle traffic. With the congestion on 29, we will probably be hard pressed to get out of our complexes at certain times of the day. It would also be contrary to your, one of the purposes of this plan is to enhance safety for pedestrians and bicyclists if you open up the bridge and therefore the whole corridor to motor vehicle traffic. And then just 2 questions. One, will you be putting in the green markings, crosswalk markings for shared use traffic at the intersections and driveways?
It's not, I mean, yes. So yes, we will be, that the green pavement marking helps motorists and others know that there's anticipated bicycle traffic there. So yes, I mean, it's just not a level of detail we're at this point, but those types of safety parts are all part of our, the county's complete street design guide. So yes.
That's wonderful. And my final question, going down Old Columbia Pike toward Paint Branch, of course, there's steep grades. So with a shared use path, I'm worried about how would one control the traffic of cyclists who are using the pathway going downhill?
Geometry.
I mean,
Care of it, under the,
it would be up to the cyclists to control their speed, right? Like there wouldn't be an alternative to make the shared use path less steep than the road. So it would be at the grade of the road.
Oh, maybe warning signs or something to watch the speed at the intersections coming down, because I'll probably still continue to use the roadway rather than the path. Well, we'll see what happens. Thank you so much.
Sure, that's a good point. So more experienced bicyclists that feel more comfortable at higher speeds may use the road, and that could be a way of separating the higher speed bicyclists from the lower speed pedestrians and slower bicyclists or strollers or rollers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out tonight on your free time too. And we appreciate all the comments and questions.
Dan, I have a question.
Go ahead, Lori. Lori's going to be moderating from virtual. So every once in a while, we'll stop the in-person and allow for a virtual question. So you can go ahead and have a seat for a second. She's saying Dan, she was talking to me. So Lori's going to ask a question.
Okay.
And then we're going to answer it from a virtual. You have a seat.
I don't want to get up again.
Go ahead, Lori.
Oh, actually, we're going to hear from Mark Suttleson.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Lori. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
We can hear you fine.
Great. Thank you. I really appreciate the Planning Commission's team and efforts to focus on this corridor. I'm a resident in the neighborhood off of Tech Road on Featherwood. And there have been at least one fatality that I'm aware of a few years back, crossing 29 from the Tech Road, Old Columbia Pike side to the new development time. There are numerous near misses with pedestrians, which may be outside of the plan boundary, but the Old Columbia and Tech intersection. And that's a very high density intersection with school bus drop off.
I'll be here.
New development, existing apartment, and people bypassing or trying to get around this blockage of traffic you're talking about by coming down Old Columbia Pike. There's a stop there and low through that. So my question and my comment, we appreciate that comments about trying to accommodate that. I think I heard a refuge island. That term indicates to me that it is not a safe problem. I'm wondering if a pedestrian bridge considered, at least at Tech Road. Like some comments and feedback on that.
So as of yet, a pedestrian bridge has not been considered. We can certainly take it into consideration. There are some issues with that. ADA accessibility and things like that can come into play, and cost as well. But thank you for your comment. We will definitely take it into consideration.
Thank you. I do appreciate those constraints.
Sure.
I'm Dan Wilhelm. I got three major comments and probably more subsets of each of those. The first one is the master plan for Old Columbia Pike assumes 4 lanes going all the way through, not stopping at Tech Road or Industrial. So the design would almost negate the need for a bridge because there would be almost no cars going down to the bridge. You can't get through the intersections. So it kind of violates the master plan and also violates why you would need a bridge. I don't think you need a bridge in any case. Second point is you got Beaver White Oak coming with lots of traffic, and you don't seem to be accounting for that. You need at least 2 lanes coming in off 29 on Tech Road and Industrial, and obviously 2 lanes going out. So with your option 4, alternative 4, 1 lane, that's not enough. You need to talk to the developer on what they've been looking at. The third thing is really need BRT, and my thinking is you need to have BRT crossing at Tech Road and going back into the industrial area, and I don't see where that's addressed at all. And And in reality, I think the better place to cross Paint Branch would be in Beaver White Oak, not at the bridge. So I don't think the bridge is worth, I guess it was like $15 million if I read between the lines right on your drawings. Anyway, that's the key things, and I could go into a lot more detail. Part of it, it doesn't seem like you went back to the LATIP design for the interchange, for the intersections, and there's actually a pretty good design in there for industrial, and I think the same thing could be applied to Tech Road to make the intersections safe.
So thank you very much for those comments, and we will take them into consideration going forward. So thank you.
There's somebody behind you.
No, go ahead. Hello, I'm Eileen Finnegan, and I have a really basic question. I'm familiar with the White Oak Science Gateway Master Plan, and I'm familiar with the traffic modeling that was done at that time, which is almost 10 years ago now, maybe even longer. I'm curious about your modeling parameters for this, and I'm questioning, given the large capital costs and the potential question of the bridge, of what modeling parameters you've used. For example, there are some problems with the COG9. If you used COG9, there were some big problems with it because it did not include the FDA numbers in it. There was a big mistake down in Park and Planning, and they didn't think anybody was working at the FDA. 10.0 is out now, but that does not really look at the full build out at Viva White Oak or the full build out for the White Oak Shopping Center. And those were the big drivers for requiring some additional local capacity and using the Paint Branch Bridge as that way of providing that capacity. So I think there's I don't want to say a flaw, but I think somebody needs to go back and take a look at what you should be modeling for. We should be modeling for the build out and not looking for somebody's guesstimate of how fast that build out's happening down at Park and Planning. I think we need to be far more realistic as to why this particular roadway was not only in the master plan, but if you know Glenn Orland, you should talk to Glenn because there is some history here with it. So I thank you.
Thank you for the comment. Ching or Mark, do you have any information on which models were used for the traffic modeling?
Growth rates from the Midwest COG model around 8.2 and 9.0 were reviewed to determine the annual growth rate to be applied to the study corridor and intersections. These growth rates were applied to existing 2022 count data to project 245 traffic volume forecast. The study is developing and modeling alternatives based on traffic modeling using 2045 traffic volume forecast.
So your comment is noted and we will delve into it more. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Peter Miokin. I'm a community advocate for East County, not just for this area, but East County. I belong to a number of advocacy groups here in East County. My comment, I have no questions. My comment is that I agree with what Dan has said, what Eileen has said also, and support both their comments. But if you look at your estimated cost for the project, why don't we mix alternative 3 and 4 and use the difference in the cost of the projects that were going to be spent on those 2 alternatives to just concentrate on intersection improvement? And I think that would go a long ways to solve a problem here. Okay, that's my comment.
Thank you very much. Lori, do you have any online questions?
I do not.
Anybody else in person?
Oh, someone just raised their hand, Dan.
All right, go ahead online.
Online.
We're going to hear from Kelly Brooks.
Hi. So I just wanted to make a comment about the intersection at Old Columbia and Industrial. I live in that neighborhood, and it's already difficult to get in and out of our neighborhood without there being some sort of light there. I really do think that that needs to be addressed, because if there's no light on Old Columbia Pike at Industrial, I think that, I mean, there at least needs to be some kind of ramp or something to get out of that neighborhood. It's really, really unsafe right now, and I just don't think that the existing options are going to address that.
Hey, thank you for the comment.
Hi, my name is Corrine Majdanovich. I live in the Stonehenge community, which flows right into Old Columbia. And as the previous speaker talked about, it's a nightmare right now for people that live in those communities to try to get from Old Columbia around Industrial Boulevard onto 29. And to be honest, this design looks more confusing than what we have right now. And I don't know how it solves any problem. I just hope that you focus on, as the previous speaker said, focus on the intersections first. Everything else is beautiful to have these walking paths and biking paths, but these intersections affect daily life, a lot of people. And also in our community in front of Stonehenge, school buses stop on Old Columbia and pick up children. I can't imagine what's going to happen if you open a bridge and add more traffic onto this road. So I really think you need to look at the people that are most affected by this design and think hard. And my last question is, who and when will the final design be made? I mean, you're hearing voices. I'm sure everybody who lives near Stonehenge is saying, don't open those bridges. That bridge does not need to give us any more traffic than we already have on Old Columbia. Thank you.
Sure. I have one question, and I'll answer that. As the last one was a question. Thank you for your comments. The question is who and when. So at the end of our facility planning process, which includes a presentation to our Director of Department of Transportation and to the Transportation Environment Committee of the County Council, they make the decision on. Essentially, it's the county executive can make a recommendation in his budget, and the county council approves budget. So if there would be an option chosen and money put towards a final design and construction, those are the decision makers.
Good evening, and thank you very much. I'm the White Oak Planning Manager. I work with Mr. Bunday. And the only thing I wanted to do is re-emphasize what Dan said, which is there is an existing and approved local area transportation improvement program. And both at Tech Road and Industrial, you're going to have double lefts coming in. So you got to have two receiving lanes, both on Industrial and Tech Road.
Thank you for that comment.
It's David Bickle. I live on the other side of Old Columbia Pike. It's still Old Columbia Pike on the other side of the highway as well. But Right here on Industrial Parkway, once you cross over the highway going west, there's like a 2 foot drop right there, and it doesn't connect to anything. I mean, you literally go into a dirt path that then goes over to Old Columbia Pike. So back to the drawing you were just at, you can't really see it there, but at that crossing where it goes west, once you make it to the west side of Old Columbia Pike, there's just a concrete area and then it goes into dirt. So I would second what Mr. Peter said. We need to nix 3 and 4 on redoing the bridge and spend more time on the crossings here. Especially, I've seen people almost get hit at Tech Road and also here as cars don't obey the speed limit or the speed limit and the traffic lights as well. On the Tech Road one, I see people crossing when I have a left-hand turn to go north on Old Columbia or on 29 all the time. They just, they think no one's turning left and they pull right in front and then we have to wait for them to cross. So I think a pedestrian bridge would be really beneficial or something. I guess third thing, when we're looking at the plans for Tech Road, I really don't think that we need to have that a one-way entrance there, because you've now made people like me who are driving, let's just say I'm going to Home Depot, I now can no longer make a left where I used to. I have to drive all the way around to the other backside of Home Depot entrance that, oh, by the way, that entrance isn't designed for me to make a left-hand turn into that back entrance. And then for me to get back home, now I have to go all the way up and way around the Seventh-day Adventist area to make it back home. So that's just another input. There's one more. It's not coming to me right now, but I like what you've done. I think something needs to be done, but I'd like to spend the money more on Tech Road and on the other intersections.
So thank you for the comment. And I'll just say, maybe come see me or Yasi afterwards to talk about your first point about, I don't think I quite understand, but it sounds like that may be like an immediate safety issue or something like that we can, if it might be in the state right away, but if we get a little bit more information about what you're talking about that, and then thank you for your other comments as well.
Good evening. My name is Alberto. I live in Columbia Towers condominium, and I cannot understand how we are giving more preference of vehicle over persons. We have a major road almost parallel at this old bridge, and less than 2 miles, you are planning to add more vehicles in a road instead of considering people. So for me, I cannot understand why they are going to think to spend around 40 millions around 2 miles. And like I said, instead of focusing on people or bicycles instead of vehicles. That's my concern. Vehicles, less, more people, more nature instead of more vehicles. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment.
Hi, I'm Joan Johnson. I live a little bit further away, but work in this general vicinity. And I'm gonna, I don't know, third, fourth, or fifth the comment about save the money that you might have spent on widening that bridge and spend it on improving the intersections and improving bicycling. Because seriously, the future is not in the single car vehicle. It's probably the electric bicycle. And by widening that road, your traffic is not going to do the speed limit. Traffic is going to do 10 to 15 miles over the speed limit. And you're going to end up killing or seriously injuring cyclists. And even worse, well, not even worse, I shouldn't say that, but in addition, you will discourage people from biking and add more cars to the road. Thanks.
Thank you very much for the comment.
Right.
Is there any online questions?
Yes. We will now hear from Carolina Paladine, sorry.
Hello, can everyone help me? Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I live at the townhomes at Gatestone, which is right before the White Oak Towers, right off of Old Columbia. And I actually have two comments about everything. The first one is that I think it's a bad idea to widen the bridge. It just is going to cause more havoc with traffic. And, you know, this is a very, it's like a narrow road. We already have people going 25 miles an hour up the street and down the street. And I feel that if you guys widen this bridge and make more vehicles come this way, it's going to cause more pedestrians getting hit. It's going to cause us as homeowners here a hard time leaving our homes. People down the road at the White Oak Towers leaving their homes. The further down by the bridge, there are the other townhomes where people are also going to be trying to leave their homes, and it's just going to make it more difficult. I do like the fact that you guys want to make it more pedestrian friendly and make it more bike safe and have more bikers, which I think is fantastic. I think that instead of widening that bridge, I think we should concentrate on fixing the intersections, as other people have said at the meetings, especially the one off of Stewart and Old Columbia. I hear accidents all the time on that specific intersection on Stewart and Old Columbia. And there's been a few pedestrians, at least two I know of, I think this year and last year, that have passed away because of that crazy intersection. And I think that, again, instead of spending 25 million or 60 million in widening the street and opening that bridge, I think we should keep it as is, make it a nice bike trail, make it nice for pedestrians, and fix the intersections instead.
Thank you for your comments. And I will just add that separate from this project, SHA does have a project to look at improving safety at Stewart Lane and US 29. That's ongoing, separate of this, by SHA, State Highway Administration. Sure.
Yeah, again. I do support what Dan said regarding the second bridge from Viva White Oak to over to the Lockwood, Stewart Lane area. It would connect two activity centers, the one that Viva plans to develop, and the White Oak activity centers. I would caution that we should make that bridge just a transit bridge. Rather than a vehicle bridge for everybody, a pedestrian, a cyclist, and a transit bridge. I think that would help out everybody. It would connect the two communities, the White Oak Activity Center and the Viva White Oak Center, as well as the one along Prosperity Drive and Old Columbia Pike. But I think that's a viable solution. It looks good. The only thing is you're going to have to deal with the Parks Department on that one. Okay. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that comment. I will just add a little bit on that, in that it's not just the Parks Department, it's the Planning Department as well. It's not actually in the master plan, and we as MCDOT are only allowed to implement things that are in the master plan.
Actually, I've talked to Park and Planning, and they say you can do the bridge without it being in the master plan. That's point blank what they told me. And that's high up in the planning department. Anyway, I'd just like to add one comment on the, agree with what most people are saying here, focus on those two intersections, and parkings won't do it. You need to have some kind of active controls, traffic lights or something because people don't stop at a marking on the pavement. And the reason for those pylons on Tech Road is there were accidents about every day in there, at least one a day. And that's because people weren't paying attention. People were coming off 29 and people were going to go on Old Columbia, and lo and behold, they're trying to occupy the same space at the same time, and it didn't work. So you need active controls. And go back to the LITIP. That's the best design I've seen for fixing the problem. Maybe you can improve on it. I hope you can, but something needs to be done.
Thank you. And again, that time I will go back and definitely look at the LATIP. And it was done, and then, like you said, try to see if we can improve on it.
Hi, thank you. Michael Jackson again. One question. We spoke previously at a town hall meeting, and it seems like there was unanimous input that the bridge should not be open to motor vehicle traffic. And so my question is, why is it still being presented as an alternative? And does it take, in addition to the feedback here, residents who are opposed to contact the county council to, drive a stake through the heart of these proposals to open up the bridge to motor vehicle traffic?
So thank you for your comment and question. So, and I believe you're speaking of our first public meeting. So again, we're in our planning stages, right? And we are developing concepts, developing alternatives. And the big thing is seeking input, right? So the last meeting was virtual only. We thought that there was a decent attending, but we wanted to try to see to open it up to get more. And so we're, again, all of the input is super important. So we're reporting it all back, right? Like what we heard, what our opinion is for what would be the best solution. And yes, if you feel strongly about one alternative over another, or just totally discontinuing in one alternative, the elected officials are the ones who write the checks, right? So the county executive can propose things and the county council approves them. So 100%, if you want your voice known, that your elected officials are the place to go. We're going on here.
Another question for you, since you brought up SHA several times in park and planning, there had been long-standing plans for various grade separated interchanges, which have been pared down over the years. And there is a current master plan, the Fairland Briggs Cheney master plan, which is before council now, which will make the Tech Road the only potential grade separated interchange in that long swath of congested 29. I understand that SHA may be looking at what they could do there, especially with the opening of the White Oak Town Center to happen. Have you been talking to SHA about any grade separated interchange or multi flyovers that could be happening at Industrial and 29?
So in general, yes, we and specifically we coordinate with SHA on our project. As far as I know, they haven't come up with anything yet to share with us. But of course, that would, when that's shared, that would impact whatever design we have. So without that yet, we are, thinking what could be possibilities, and if like this project were ahead of that, whatever this project takes out as a form would be ahead of that, would anticipate if nothing is given to us, then we'd anticipate that. And if there was, the idea is to avoid putting something in and then having it ripped out by another project. So without having something to compare to, we don't have that yet, but as the project progresses, it will certainly, we can continue to coordinate with SHA and avoid the scenario where something would be constructed and then have to be deconstructed to the extent possible.
Yeah, then maybe I need to suggest Cicero to for us to discuss, because about 2 months ago, we did have the director of DOT, folks from State Highway Administration and our office to sit down to discuss this particular issue. So maybe Cicero, we need to just do a follow-up update to Dan because the State Highway Administration, they did promise, to continue to engage in that conversation, particularly for that particular area. But we'll talk more about it.
Thank you.
Okay, we got one more here.
Yeah, hi. I'm David Hondowitz. I'm the transportation staffer for Councilmember Mink. We know each other electronically. Since folks are trying, wanting to get definitive decisions on whatever, I think we really need to be clear on the process, because the last thing I want is for folks to get confused. My understanding from what you're telling me is that you're in phase 1 of facility planning, right?
That's correct.
So phase 1 of facility planning was approved by a prior council, and you're acting on that prior authorization. Before going to phase 2 of facility planning, which is all funded in the overall capital project for that, you go just to the T&E committee and brief them and ask for their advice about how you should approach phase 2 of that study. That's not a decision-making point. That's advice from the council, which it's wise for DOT to think about before spending more time on the study as you go to the next phase of the study. It's only when you're done with facility planning that you make a recommendation to the executive on what to send over to the council. And then if the executive sends it over, then the council decides whether or not to fund it. The significance of where we're at now, therefore, T&E, to make clear for folks, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a while. I was in the General Assembly for 3 years, and now I'm back, is T&E is composed of at-large council president Evan Glass, is composed of District 2 council member Marilyn Balcom, and is composed of District 4 council member Kate Stewart. They get the briefing, which is a public briefing, regular meeting of that committee, and then they make a recommendation. There's no decision that is sent to the council for action. However, just to add, what usually happens is any council member can participate in any committee meeting, and I really would endeavor, we would do this as a normal course of actions to make sure that Councilmember Mink is available, if at all possible, to be present at that meeting and participate as if she were a member of the committee. When do you anticipate going to T&E for that briefing? Roughly.
Do you have? Yeah,
late winter, early spring. So
2024.
So, well, but there's a difference between late winter, spring, and say December of next year. So
correct.
Rough idea.
Yeah, it'd be like, I would say June 2024 in that time frame.
So to be clear for everybody listening and watching, so I can hopefully head you off some confusion on email when I come into work tomorrow. The council's not going to be through the T&E committee alone, but Councilmember Mink would likely participate. This is not going to be presented in front of her, in front of that committee until that time. So until that time, you're taking everything you heard here and you're continuing your phase 1 work. And when your phase 1 work is done, you're ready to make that presentation, which will be the latter part of the first quarter of next year, roughly. And this would all be noticed on the council site and on your site. Then factoring this information, all that gets presented to the committee. The committee can make its recommendation. Councilmember Mink would weigh in, and then we go to the rest of this. Part of the reason I also want to be clear on now is we are going to have a full new capital budget coming over next year. And I don't anticipate, this will not be part of that budget process, even though calendar-wise, things are going to be going on at the same time. So I just want to make clear, the council is not going to have anything in front of them to make a decision on, probably for at least if you go off cycle another year, and if you go in the normal cycle, another 2 years after that. The council will still have a formal role in your study work, but we're not going to be making any final decisions until quite a ways down the line. So, and rest assured, that's why I'm here. All this is going to go back to the council member, but she's going to want to hear a formal briefing and all that. And we're not going to have to ask for that formal briefing tomorrow because they're not even finished with their phase 1 work yet. So I think that just needs, because it's counterintuitive of what the public would normally think. So that you just got to be careful when you talk about we make the final decisions. Got to understand where everything fits in the process. So they're focused on you guys, you folks, until you're done with your process before we're asked to make a decision on incomplete information. Okay.
So I think that was a much more detailed version of the process. So I appreciate that. And I didn't try to, I didn't want to oversimplify, and I appreciate the clarification for everybody here. Again, we are really we're seeking the input, and you might have been at the earlier meeting and already said like, well, I told you that, but we're considering all the options at this point.
Online?
No, I don't have any. I have comments, but I don't. Oh, actually, Mark Huddleston just raised his hand, so we will hear from him.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate the information about the process. So for folks who've expressed concerns about the options that are opening up the bridge to car traffic and a desire to see prioritization of intersection improvements at Tech and Industrial Road and prioritization of pedestrian safety, how do we keep track, or what's the best way to keep track of whether those concerns that you're hearing get reflected in the end of your phase 1 process?
So I guess one thing we will do is we can do a summary of comments, and responses, right? And we may not, depending on the number of comments, and we might not address every single one, but we might categorize them. So that's one thing that we do as our process, right? So that, anybody that's involved with the decision making will want to know that, the same thing, like what questions were asked, what comments were brought up, how did you address them? So that's the way to, and of course you can verbalize your comments tonight, and you can also, I suggest you write them, and send them in to, either Yasi, our project manager, or, go to the website. There's a way there to, have your questions and comments recorded.
Question?
Thanks for that.
Thank you.
I'm Rob Richardson. I'm a resident of the area and have been involved in community planning for a while here in this region. I just like to endorse what has been said here about concentrating on the intersections. I'm sure there are pros and cons about whether you open the bridge or not, and that decision will be made one way or the other. But I'd just like to say that I think that regardless of what you do as far as opening it or not, the key to whether anything you do on Old Columbia Pike will be that intersection with Old Columbia Pike and 29 and Industrial Parkway. What is coming down on us here is Viva White Oak. And Viva White Oak is going to happen, we think sooner rather than later. It has been a while in coming. But there are going to be 2 major accesses in and out of Viva White Oak. And one goes out to Cherry Hill Road, and the other actually comes to the area that we're looking at, intersecting with 29. And I think it just needs to be put in perspective what Viva White Oak is. I mean, Viva White Oak at the full build out that Eileen was speaking of is actually larger than downtown Silver Spring. So if you can imagine the entry and access capacities that are going to be needed, I think that what you're looking at the intersection, particularly here for Industrial Parkway and Old Columbia Pike and the access to 29 has to be looked at from a planning perspective as one of your key drivers, if not the key driver in making any of this work. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hello, my name is Nick Over. I'm here on behalf of MCB. And just to follow up what has been said here, we are currently working on the Viva White Oak project, the lead developer with the landowner. So I do want to, after the meeting, offer up our contact and would love to sit down with the team at planning to discuss what you've heard here, because we've been meeting with the LabQuest folks as well and hearing what they have to say about this situation. Of course, for us, critical to us is the access off of Route 29 to feed what we hope to be future retail and life sciences within the development. And will be our project, of course, will be then connecting 29 back to Cherry Hill, helping your situation there a little bit. So I think it needs to be thought of holistically, that whole corridor from the Home Depot to the Giant to our proposed development and how we intend to phase it. And we will, of course, be offering up our progress reports to the LabQuest team and the community as well, and to you. So we look forward to working with everyone in the community and staff to make sure that this can handle what is approved for 12 million feet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Live feed. Thank you, man.
So if there are no further questions, there are lots of, go ahead.
It's not really a well, I guess it is a question. Considering, all the comments you heard and everything, is the study group going to come back to the community before it goes to T&E? And can that be done?
We weren't planning on it. The team meeting can be, a public forum. So, but we can, you're welcome to contact us, and we can post things on the website as well.
I do intend, I guess, as the procedure before it even goes to the county council, presentation to the county executive. So whatever information goes to the county executive, I think would include all the comments we're hearing out here. And he may want to suggest that going through, let's say, the East County Citizens Board, then we'll work with you to come do a final presentation. But that's very fluid, and
sure,
my office will be more than happy to collaborate with you on that. You've always worked with us, as to strengthen the community input in the process.
Correct.
Close it out.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, again, I was going to say, if there aren't any more comments or questions, we have displays, we have staff here that can answer maybe a specific question, one-on-one if you would like, or, again, we have written comments if you want. I'll leave them over there on the table. But again, thanks everybody for your input. This is key to the whole process, obviously, is your input. And so if you think of something on the way home, contact us through email is probably the best, and we'll have a written copy of it, and then we can respond to you in that manner too as well. So I appreciate everybody's time tonight. Oh, yeah, yes.